was an interesting front cover of the book section in the New York Times a couple of weeks ago, where somebody had written a book about this problem, and the whole world was shown on the front, up in flames. That's where we are, and now we're getting to the desperation point. Some of us have been yelling for years, me not for that long, but when I wrote the first book of my trilogy, it was called Light at the End of the Tunnel, a survival plan for the human species. I had just read a book by Dr. James Hansen, where he talked about the floods of my grandchildren. He's still around, and he's still, in my opinion, incredible. The only thing is the floods have already started. They're sweeping across the world. And the rainfall, unexpected rainfall, in place after place is disastrous. We just have had spring floods like we've never seen before in 3 or 4 provinces. And we thought we were pretty well exempt from this sort of thing. But in my province of Ontario, I have a little, my family had a little resort in the Lake Country just north of Toronto, and the water level was 6 feet higher than it has been at any time in the last 71 years since I've been going there. 6 feet higher. What we call the Big Rock, which is usually 5 or 6 feet out of the water, and kids always diving in from it, was just about submerged. And in many of the areas of the Quebec and the Maritimes, New Brunswick in particular, people had to move out of their houses. The damage is just, in the, I don't know, hundreds of millions, really, probably, add it all up. And it looks as if this is here to stay and is going to get worse. And if you start looking through Googling what's going on in the rest of the world, same thing. Flood after flood after flood. Mozambique, after a big wind, people died, and the devastation was incredible. And Iraq had a rainstorm, and I think 40 people died or something like that. And Iran had a couple of these terrible rainstorms. A number of people died. And so I keep saying, if the production of coal and oil continues, people will die. It's as simple as that. And some of them, one of them may someday be somebody closely related to any one of us. We don't know, because these things don't differentiate between, one kind of person and another. Mm-hmm. Personal disasters. So something has got to be done, and that is one reason why we have to have more money available to governments to help finance the immediate transfer from an oil-based economy to a clean energy economy. Mm-hmm. How? The technology exists. Mm-hmm. 0-point energy.
Yeah.
Dr. Michael Wolff, you've probably heard of, used to have one of these very high clearances in the U.S. government, worked in Nevada and in Arizona, and I think he was working as S4. He reported more than 20 years ago in a radio broadcast that the United States government, here I'll mention it, in cooperation with one of the alien species, had developed both cold fusion and 0-point energy. And this had been done long before he said that. So the technology exists, but some people who put money and power ahead of human survival as saying, well, we're more interested in our money and power than we are in the fact that a lot of people are going to climate.
64 families.
Pardon me?
The families, it's by design though, isn't it? That every single thing that you talked about there, from the banking to the suppression of free energy to big pharma, all the social problems that the world is suffering from.
It's where it starts right down the line.
That's right.
Yeah.
So giving money to government, they don't even spend it on the right thing, do they? They're oblivious to the issues that are affecting the common man. How do we change the whole system? It's a system that's so tight, isn't it?
Well, it's really who's running it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How much you've read about what I've written, but I've said that the cabal is running it.
Yeah.
The cabal is, I can describe quickly, an Illuminati at the top, then the banking cartel,
Yeah.
it's where the power lies, and then the oil cartel, then the transnational corporations, and then the intelligence organizations, including the states, the CIA, of course, the FBI and the NSA, and your MI6 and the Israeli Mossad, they're all in it together. And then below that, a huge swath of the U.S. military, especially the Air Force and the Navy, not so much in the Army. And they've been described by the late Senator Anouilh and so on as being part of a shadow government, an alternate government, so that they have been running the United States for, well, almost 70 years since the crash at Roswell, and they started working on the back engineering. And what they have done during that period, they have kept secret at the cost of billions of dollars in misinformation and disinformation.
Yep.
So American people wouldn't know what in heaven's name was going on, and that's still the case. So what I'm suggesting is that several things. We have to start a general disarmament because war is obsolete. And
Yeah, that was it.
if you look at the power of the weapons that they have developed, some of them with this alien technology, and then say you start, you go way back when they were fighting with swords and spears, and then through rifles next, and then machine guns, and then bombs, and so on, right up to the atomic weapons, and then you jump to particle guns and lasers and so things that are even more devastating. You realize it's either this, get rid of that stuff, or beware of the future of the human species, because this step we could wipe ourselves out. So we have to, or should do that, and this is partly how we pay for the transition to the clean economy, is to take some of the money that's being spent for arms, but even more important for somebody like me who was around for at the last war. At that time, we converted all of the automobile plants and all of the refrigerator plants and all of the washing machine plants into armaments. That helped to win the war. And now we have to do just the opposite. Take all of the armaments plants that are supplying the Middle East and so on, and keeping a lot of wars going that should end, and use them to make zero-point energy engines. And then start a 5-year plan worldwide to install them in every car, truck, tractor, airplane, and house in the world, as fast as we can do it. And if we do, we will stop the thing in its tracks. It's not going to roll the thing back to where it was 20 years ago, but it will stop it in its tracks and keep it from doing many times more harm. How much, I don't think anybody can estimate. But both in case of loss of lives and the material cost, which will be in the trillions, pounds, dollars, it doesn't matter. It's going to be huge because the damage is going to be so great. And we can do it if we, A, change the monetary system, B, started the disarmament and thing, and C, had the political will, which is missing.
That's the thing, the political will to do it, isn't it?
Yeah.
The political will is to extend another problem I've just been reading about, geoengineering. They're causing some of these problems indiscriminately and can use them as weapons.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
And they're doing all sorts of things now, like installing antenna for electromagnetic waves,
5G.
with which to fry us.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's coming this year.
And just stop this stuff in its tracks. And in my book, I say one of the things that has to happen is the United States has got to take back its country. The people of the United States have to reclaim their country. And they should have set up a bipartisan committee and start right away by allowing amnesty under the National Security Act for anybody who wants to come and tell the truth.
Yeah.
There are literally hundreds of people just sitting, waiting, hoping, saying, I'll tell my story, but I can't do it now because I'd lose my pension and I'd lose this and that, and my family might be in jeopardy. And so,
Again, time to the system, isn't it?
yeah. So if they've got to do that, and they should do it right away, and then at the end of my most current book, I've a list of things that have to be done in the interim to stop further escalation of what's been going on long enough for Congress to then say there's a better way. There's a better way of cooperation and trying to get along together and spend some of this money that we've been spending on building a space force for the real needs, ordinary people. Sometimes some of them are starving, some of them are hungry, some of them don't have enough money for an education, some of them don't have enough money for their next mortgage payment. They missed a paycheck like they did in the U.S. for when the president shut the place down for a while. They might have to skip a mortgage payment. And in other words, to introduce some sanity and common sense and compassion into the system.
All the things that are missing.
Yeah, all the things that are missing.
That's why Britain's in the States. That's why England is. That's why we voted for Brexit. All the reasons why people are disillusioned, are disenfranchised with politics, because we've had 30 years of this. Money going out the system. There's no money for the homeless, social care, but there's money to go to Syria to drop bombs. Exactly, There's enough to go follow Bush into Iraq. You know, people see through it now. They've had enough, but they know that
there's money.
What you vote.
Get ready for other wars.
Yeah.
So to solve the damage that they have been doing in the process. And that's a spiritual thing or a moral thing. And you get to the bottom of it, and I've noticed this myself because having been in politics for so long, that the moral standards of the politicians have been dropping slowly for the last 50 years.
Yeah.
And when I was first elected, which is a long time ago, what would you believe? 70 years ago next month. One of the best reporters in the press gallery said you could count the number of crooks on 5 fingers.
Yeah.
You couldn't do that now. I mean, and people would take money to one way or to do this or that, and they're just, things have changed. So we have
But that's how the cabal have tied the whole system up, though, isn't it? By owning all the politicians. That, you know, every side. It doesn't matter who you get in.
Sure, that's the way they've been running the states. They pick a candidate on each side and don't care which one gets in.
Yeah.
Because they're running the show anyway.
Give the illusion of choice, you know.
We get it. We totally get it.
Yeah.
It's a revolution that's needed. It's not. I mean, all the things, the ideas you're putting forward it's a utopian idea, isn't it? It's what should have happened 70 years ago. But it didn't.
Political revolution, which is the only hope now, because, and that's the reason I think if they started with a congressional committee and started getting the truth out, people would be absolutely amazed and shocked, maybe shocked into taking some action. But the important thing is if a few million American people, and I don't discount the possibility. I know the odds aren't good, but I'm also an optimist, and I know that miracles can happen because I've seen them, I've lived through them. If you get the word out that the young people in the United States, like young people in Britain and Canada, are saying enough is enough already.
Yeah.
And we want you to pay some attention to us. This 13-year-old girl from Norway, she said, she may be sarcastic. I don't blame her. I would like to learn to be sarcastic more, I guess, a little bit sometimes. I think talking about some politicians I know that I think could do better. But there's beginning to see that the present generation has sold them down the river with all the wrong things and with all the wrong priorities. And that something has got to change, and something has got to change very fast. And I think they're ripe for change if we can just get them started and get them interested. And to do that, we have to give them the knowledge on which they can base what they're going to say, which is to a politician, if you don't do A, B, C, D, and E, I am going to work my butt off in the next election to make sure you don't get reelected. That's something the politicians understand. That's something a politician understands.
Yep.
Because it's very simple. You want to stay in your job and do your thing, but you've got to do the right thing by us, and not just what you're told to do by a bunch of bankers and industrialists and others, and the people who pull the strings and who's somebody said the other day $1 a vote. And you know, that's a pretty crass thing to say, but it was right dead on as to what has been happening in the system, and it's got to end as far as I'm concerned. So there are a lot of things, and this final one, the geoengineering, I've just been reading up on that, and I have, on the back cover of Dane and Wigington's little booklet, I don't know if you've seen it or not, but it's a priceless little booklet. He's, I think it's Geoenginnering Watch. And it tells the facts, and the facts are incredible, that it is the most dangerous thing in the world next to the H-bomb, at least to the atomic bombs. And it's going to have a bigger effect on people, trees, animals, and the earth. In other words, our home. It's going to destroy the home as we have seen it. And it's happening, and it's happening very fast. And people are not even aware of it. I often say to my friends, what do you know about chemtrails? And they'll say, what? Chemtrails. What do you mean? Well, these things that you see in the sky. I sort of explain, you mean contrails? No, I don't mean contrails. Like a little bit of water vapor that comes out of the back of a jet engine at high altitude you see for a few seconds in the sky. I mean the kind of thing that comes out of the little airplanes that take off from the airport opposite my condo. From before sunrise to after sunset, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. They don't even stop for Christmas. And that they are dropping, or they're dropping nanoparticles of aluminum, barium, strontium, and heaven only knows what else, and doing all of these other things, which are potential killers. They're poisoning the air we breathe, and the water we drink, and the soil where we grow our food. And then they're putting up these. Now they're part of the thing. They're putting up these antenna, which are up to no good. And sometime, somewhere, somebody's got to say no. And I don't know who it's going to be, but it's got to be somebody, because our whole.
There is a movement in Britain against the 5G.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, the culling of the trees. The one the trees cut down, don't they, above.
It's got a short width and a short bandwidth. Yeah.
They're cutting all the trees down. They were doing it in Sheffield, and you had the middle classes come out because it was a nice leafy suburban town, street, and they don't want to hear about 5G, but they love the trees. So they were happy to hug the trees and not let anybody cut them down. But it doesn't work through the foliage, does it? The 5G, what do you call it? The
energy of it.
Well, the bandwidth of it.
Yeah, you can't. The Wi-Fi signal won't work through
so got short width and a short travel distance. Yeah.
Somebody was asking me which new system I supported, and I said, "What does it matter? They're all abominable."
Right.
It's about human extinction, isn't it? That's what this is about.
They're all poison. They're all bad for us, and as far as I'm concerned, it's all got to stop, because they're just unrolling this stuff. I'm sure you're familiar with Alana Freeland's books.
Oh yeah.
Her books are must-reads for anybody who wants to know what's going on in that area. Seeing that it's probably one of the top 3 problems in the world, get books by Alana Freeland, Freeland, if you can get them, and read them, and get so mad that you get out and start doing something. Whose life is at stake? Could be your own. If not, kids. In my case, my great-grandchildren. I'm expecting my 5th great-grandchild in August.
Congratulations.
Yeah.
Excited about that. There's always, I end with good news. There are always good things happening, and I've been talking to a lot of people in the last few days who, in their own sphere, have been providing support to people who need it, who have been doing nice things, starting little organizations to comfort people in various areas, and doing the kinds of things that you would think that humans should be concerned about for their fellow humans. And there are a lot of them happening. And this gives me some hope, because what I say is we need a tsunami of those things, which is saying a lot of people changing their moral standards and their priorities. From what I'm looking for is power and money, because that's how people look at me, and I'm great because I've got power and money. Just stop that and say, I'm concerned about the other people who don't have as much to eat as I have, and who don't have as nice a view as I have, and who don't have the things that I have, that they'll get some decent food and a diet that's balanced, and the kinds of things they need to give them hope.
Absolutely.
And that's the way we should be going. And some of the kids and some of the younger people and some of the other older people are changing their ways, giving up their jobs and starting government, the people that served and kept tax breaks as a result. So not all no hope. But what I say, people say, well, you don't really expect this miracle to happen, do you? And I say, well, I'm an eternal optimist, or I wouldn't get out of bed in the morning. is all literally true. And I believe in miracles because I've seen them in my own life and others. And as long as God is alive and well and everywhere, as I say in my latest book, there is hope. And I'm counting on something and good happening, and praying that it will.
The human spirit is infinitely, it is good, isn't it? It's been hijacked, it's been manipulated to think that you need possessions and you need
Dumbed down.
They've twisted the whole idea of being with Britain. You know yourself, Margaret Thatcher. She said, "Forget about community. Look after yourself."
Yeah.
And people took it literally, didn't they? She destroyed the steelworks, the mining, all the communities, especially in the north of Britain, and that it split communities. It split society.
Divide and rule
It's
again.
fractured. It's fractured now.
We did that with urban renewal after the war, and in our country they were taking down whole blocks of bulldozers, and I stopped that. Fortunately, I was a minister in charge of housing at the time, and was able to do something that was worthwhile.
But it's by design, isn't it? The whole thing is to destroy the fabric of family, society, so that people don't think as a community. They think on their own. They think for themselves. They don't. It's my house and it's my family. Forget everybody else.
Right.
That's why. But infinitely, human beings are caring and they're kind, aren't they? And that's what's coming through now. There is a real awakening. People have seen it doesn't have to be like this. We can change things, and that's a great thing to see, isn't it? It is happening.
Absolutely, a great ending.
Yeah.
More to the people, let them go to the light and turn their backs on the dark.
Absolutely.
That's
Always.
brilliant. Yeah, definitely.
Thank you, Paul, for your time.
It's been wonderful.
It's been a pleasure.
Yeah, it's been wonderful listening to you. Fantastic.
What have you got planned for the rest of the day?
My plans for the rest of the day, I have to phone up a chap that is looking for some money for a camp for disadvantaged children, and presumably give him some advice as to how he can get it.
You don't want to put your feet up and just do a bit of fishing off the end of your pier?
I sometimes would like to, but I haven't time. And I don't even have time for sports most of the time, which is unfortunate, but you can't do everything. And I'm doing what I think I'm supposed to do, and will continue to do it as long as I have the strength.
Yeah, and please do, Paul.
Yeah,
Well, good for you.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
Thank you, chaps. Nice to talk to you.
And
You
you as well,
too.
Paul.
Thanks,
Thank you
Paul.
very much.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Take care.
Take care, Paul. Take
Sure.
care.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye.
Bye.